Mars, Cage, JSA, and we're here with my head strength coach, Chris Ahern. I always talk to you, I say it right here. It's fine. I do the best I can. Chris is I call my mad scientist at the gym. One of the big parts of our training, whether you're just learning martial arts for fun or learning martial arts for combat, is you got to add some strength training element to it as well. Look at old school martial arts, and there wasn't really the availability of the strength coach in the gym. You know, they used to do a lot of calisthenics in class. When we're in class, we waste time and do that shit. That's Chris's job to really train our athletes to perform. So when we think about our exercises, especially for someone who's a combat athlete, we want them to mirror and feel the best they can, or relate the best they can to combat. So Chris is working on a lot. Let's start talking about this first drill, and what are we gonna do here?
So we're gonna use, this is called the Landmine. So basically we take a 45-pound bar. We have a little apparatus that we connected into. If you don't have one of those, I've gone as far as just put this thing in the corner between two walls to just create this little pivot point. My goal here is to teach people how to create power with their hips, okay? So a lot of guys come in with strong foundation. They've been doing like bench press, squats, deadlifts, but they're not utilizing the rotation power. Exactly, the rotation of their hips to actually create power. So the first one I like to start off with beginners is we stand off of this squared off stance right here. Now, the most important part of this is that you're gonna flare your elbows out, okay? I'm gonna hold the bar dead center, just above my heart right here. And then I wanna pivot on my toes and turn side to side, touching my elbow to my hip, okay? When I complete that, I'm gonna go to the other side, just like this. Now, when you get good at this, you can do it, I tell people to do it violently, okay? I want you to pivot to the other side. Now, big mistake I see a lot of people make is they start to drop this elbow right here. Now this becomes a pull. They're almost pulling with their arms. You want to keep that elbow up so I can almost see underneath my bicep right there. This causes me to really activate my obliques and my hips to create that turn, okay? Second revolution of this is that we throw in a press. So from the rotation, we go from the hip, opposite hip, and we press right from that hip. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the opposite side first. I'm pressing with my right. I'm gonna go left hip first. So I'm gonna go left, right, press, left, right, press. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the next? You got more. I didn't realize you were doing both those things with the rotation and the press. I've seen it from that side of the gym sometimes, but I didn't realize combine that side.
Yeah.
When I saw Chris doing this exercise, it reminded me very similar of a footwork drill I make people do when they're just starting out. They're starting to get the basics of like foot drop and movement and getting our feet connected to our body. I'll reference, I forget what YouTube channel this was. I'll reference the video in the channel below. It was a Cuban boxing guy, and he does a great job explaining boxing footwork, by the way. But he was talking about foot drop. It made a lot of sense to me. So now, and it looks very similar to this drill. If I'm just being very basic stance, we gotta have our feet separated. I don't need to go in a deepest stance right now, but our right heel's off the ground, our rear foot's off the ground. We start dropping our right and turning over our left. It starts getting this hip rotation, just like Chris is working over here. And the same thing by dropping my left and turn over my right. I start getting the feel of putting my punches and like hip movement together. So it's very similar to what he's doing. So I think, as I was just talking the other day, like how can we now make this a little more relatable? Not relatable, but like let's say a very specific fighter that's having bad footwork. How can we now use the same exercise to kind of do that? It's a little awkward in the beginning, but you know, so go ahead.
Correct me, because I don't want to mess this one up.
So I'll have to start. Yeah. So and if you look at our stance, my foot in the beginning is at a 45-degree angle to this plane. Okay, and so that's our neutral. Heel off the ground. We like to start. It's like put in the car and drive. I don't like my students, my athletes, to get flat footed. Okay, if we're getting ladies get heavy on our heels, we always have to get to an athletic position first before we can actually hit someone or take someone down. If I'm always in an athletic position, I'm always ready to move. So car and drive, heel off the ground, hands nice and neutral. Drop it right, on your left, and don't let the heel turn over a little bit, so that the heel just comes up, so my hip follows my knee. So I should look down and just see my knees over my toe and my hip is over my knee. And then drop your left, turn over your right leg, going across. Boom. And so Chris is used to look another way, but another way we can make this more fight relatable is you look at the end, at the implement. A lot of guys they throw their hooks, they look away from their punch. They throw their crosses, they look away from their punch. Well, they're getting their body exposed, so So we want to start getting our eyes on the whole time. So this drill can really help with that as well. Cool. So what do you call this thing? Landmine, what?
Landmine torso twist, landmine press,
Whatever you
I don't think there's an official name for it.
Landmine, I would go McGillicuddy lately. We call it landmine McGillicuddy. Cool. All right, let's get on to another exercise, or grouping exercises, and using sandbags, stones, or other heavy objects to develop some good hip power. One of my favorite things to do. Okay, let's look at one of the most important movements and probably all grappling sports, the tackle stand-up. If you do not have a tackle stand-up, you do not know how to grapple. You do not know how to grapple. All right. So one of the cool things we do is we can start playing, loading that tackle stand-up in a few different ways. Very similar to a Turkish Get Up. But why don't you walk through what a tackle stand-up looks like, talk it through, and then play with the bag. Yep.
So we're gonna start from this position right here. Now, I wanna start off with one leg bent, the other leg's gonna be straight out. Now, it's okay to use this elbow on the straight leg side to kind of lean on as I come up. Sometimes you'll see people do this with a kettlebell or a dumbbell in their hand, but my goal is to go from the supine or laying down position up to supporting myself with one arm and my elbow. From here, I'm gonna shoot this way. This leg becomes a weightless leg. I'm gonna support it between my arm and my foot, and I'm gonna come up to this position right here. A lot of people skip this position, and this is an important one. This is our windmill position. So I'm gonna use my hips and my core to come up to almost like a lunge position with my knee on the floor. Then I'm gonna stand all the way up from here. Now, we're gonna get back down the same way, knee face out on my hand, weightless leg kicks through, and I'm gonna go all the way back down to a supine laying down position, okay?
Now, pause real quick.
Yep.
Now let's say, come up to play guard, play seated guard for me real quick. So this is, so important when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm looking to pass, and he's now just building up quickly to his feet and creating that space, okay? We're not gonna put him in a wall right now, but someone's on the wall, getting up off the wall, they need that technical stand up every single time they get up off the wall. So you want to build that strength to drive up. Nice and strong.
Okay, so let's add a sandbag to the mix. Now from here, I'm gonna follow the same pattern of movements. I'm gonna use my elbow to kind of lean on that side of my body to come up. I want this weightless leg to kick through to my knee. I'm gonna windmill up and then rise to a standing position. We're gonna go back down the same way, drop to one knee, base the hand out, weightless leg comes through, and I'm gonna lay all the way back down. We're gonna do one more time. Utilize the elbow, because you're not gonna be able to press the person off of you. Weightless leg comes through, windmill, and stand all the way back up, okay?
Yeah, guys, definitely one of the most important drills in all grappling martial arts, that tackle stand-up movement. Great way to strengthen it. And you don't need to have, a perfect cool sandbag. Anything that's heavy, you can hold some plates. I guess you can do that, hold a dumbbell on your shoulder, whatever, make it work, or just practice a traditional Turkish Get Up. That's one of the best strength movements you can ever do. All right, let's go on to lifting some bags and shit. Cool. Okay, guys, let's look at one of my favorite absolute training modalities is lifting heavy shit up and either just holding it, putting it over something, putting it on your shoulder, sometimes pressing it depending on the weight. There's nothing more primal and real to me, and I feel like it has such correlation on the mat. I don't know how to describe it. You can use that grinding strength, explosive strength, grip strength, like connection strength, all bodies, one unit strength. So we use a lot of different tools to accomplish this. Old school sandbags, fancy sandbags. These are the new ones I like. Stones, love stone training. So there's a lot of different ways we can, challenge our body using really stupid, simple objects. So let's start off with, let's pretend you're a new person, okay, and you're now going to start getting into lifting shit. And let's just go to shoulder, because I think it's a smart way to start off with. Okay. Go ahead. I'll shut up. You let you talk.
Okay, one of my favorite grappling exercises is sandbag lifts. I've seen it in my own grappling, and I've also never had so many clients, athletes come up to me and tell me that they saw it in, 2 weeks later, they're seeing improvements in not only their grip strength, but just their core strength, sweeps, takedown defense, and takedowns in general. So what we're gonna do— Hip power, pure hip power. So what we have to start off with, now you can start from a box if you need to, but our ultimate goal is to get it into what's called the lat position. So I'm gonna start off by doing that, and I'm just gonna hit your basic deadlift with keeping my arms straight. Now once I have it here, this is where the fun begins.
I wanna make sure I get a good tight gable grip, and I wanna make sure that it's not up too high on the sandbag. I wanna get it low enough that I'm gonna be able to whip this thing over my shoulder, okay? So from here, I'm gonna put my head on one side of my body. I wanna make sure that I'm driving with my legs and my hips and not focusing and not bringing this up with my back, okay? So head comes on the side, gable grip's nice and tight, and I'm gonna whip it up to that shoulder, okay? We're gonna lower it back down, reestablish our gable grip, head goes on the other side, whip it up to the opposite shoulder, okay? And you can just repeat this. I usually have people do it 2 to 3 times per side.
Can I pause and interrupt you really quick? So what I also like about that, you see how Chris was a little off balance at the end? He was forced to recover his feet. He was forced to, like, you know, deal with like an off balance object. It's not this straight linear line that's so important for combat, you know, really kind of get those micro adjustments when you need to.
That's a good one.
But yeah. Guys, I mean, I love stone lifting, and it doesn't have to have a cool Atlas stone, but stones can be a lot of fun, because really, their grip like challenges you. You really have to, you know, follow that same path, but it really makes it harder to get a good pop. We still get the same fun effect working with stones, or just anything you can find. Go dig up a fucking rock, have a lot of fun. Okay, cool. Let's try some sledges.
Yeah, let's do it.
As long as I'm never doing martial arts training, I always, for some reason, love sledgehammers. Had affinity for them. I love the way it felt. Shihan Fujiwara used to have chop his firewood in the back of his house. It's a great training tool, great for overall athleticism, great for that power development, great for your cardio. There's something kind of pretty primal about it. So why don't you walk through the awesome world of sledgehammers?
Okay, cool. So one of the big mistakes I see a lot of people make is they don't grip it by the top of the sledgehammer. So they're trying to create power, and their leverage is down here. It's just not going to happen. We always want to hold it up by the top. From here, I'm going to, as it's passing by my head, my hand is going to slide down the shaft of the hammer, okay? So I'm going to make sure I start with a strong base in my feet, and as it passes by my head, it's going to slide down, my bottom hand leaves, and returns to the top, okay? So, one thing too, you want to make sure that you're not just using your arms for this. If you notice, my whole upper torso is kind of leaning forward to try to generate power. Bottom hand leaves, and I replace it with the opposite one, okay? So let's get a big swing on this. Boom. Sometimes it's a knockover. That's right. Come on. Nice.
Make you feel awesome.
Yeah.
No, sledge is really cool, and it follows. You almost start adding that hip rotation, like I start loading that hip, kind of getting swings off it, so that you start getting that in your hips again too, which makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, like your
all power, yeah. So building from my right side, build to the left side, and it's all, you know, nice together. I love sledgehammer training. A lot of fun. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Three of the best exercises we think for martial artists, combat athletes. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you.